Well, a lot went down. A tepid welcome. Consult with Arakim. Disrupting Asylum's barrier technically did lead us to the Hearthsiders, just not quite in the way we'd hoped. Turns out the barrier was not protecting the Hearthsiders, but sealing away a dangerous enemy known as the Surgeborn. Just throw Born at the end of the enemy and you've got it. For the past several decades, when I used Lucius Thimble to disrupt the barrier, Surgeborn began pouring out of the underworks and now are free to wreak havoc on the rest of the Enclave. Turns out, the Hearthsiders do still have a governing body, and they've requested our presence, no, they told us to leave, at Cassidon's Hold. The fortress where they've found safekeeping from all the dangers in the Enclave following the surge. The Eye seems particularly frustrated with all our Weaver Band has done since entering the Vale, and seems suspicious of our motives. The other two leading representatives, the Axle and the Spindle, are a little hard to read. No, one of them said they wanted our help. What do you mean they're hard to read? Those seem willing to acknowledge that this whole Surgeborn situation could have been avoided had the Hearthsiders reached out to us sooner. Something tells me the masked Hearthsider that led us here might be more willing to work with us. I should speak with him, to him, against him. I should kill him. Hum of activity. Oh, there are people here. Voices echoing. Support staff working in the lower halls of the hold. Okay. I was like, is it just these four? Alright, maybe he's not as big a POS as I thought he was. He did rescue more people. What am I doing? Getting distracted, because that's just me. I need to focus. Plating and a furnace. Plates from arcs, carefully labeled for tests, presumably. The Spindle. She has no talk for me. Oh, God, I'm glitching out. So. Okay, there's Lane. That's everybody then. Axel has no talk for me, but organized chaos reports fabricated tools and a strange skull labeled Tobias. You can tell me who Tobias was? No? Hey, Lane. Displayed accreditation. The Eye attended the Eye's university, it seems.
Should make it.
Sorry, I missed what you said. Hearthsider's scry. Well maintained, but clearly often used. So they have been watching us. No talk from you. You look like someone who's gonna stab me in the back. I can already tell. A slate board. Powdered with dust, but cleaned of anything of significance. What do you mean? It says the word cuz. Can't talk to anyone except for Arakim.
Hey, Arakim, was it?
Oh, just call me Arik.
Well, Arik, I never got a chance to thank you. You know, for grabbing me before I fell to my death.
I think you had it. Besides, I couldn't let you plummet into a chasm. The Eye is pretty peeved with me, but hey, that's just a bonus.
Okay. What's your relationship with Karn?
You and the Eye don't seem to get along very well.
What gave it away? Mutual contempt. The Eye doesn't like anyone who shows initiative or challenges him. Unfortunately, those are my main qualities. And I suspect he perceives them in you, too.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression he's my biggest fan. Will you be in trouble for saving us?
I'd worry if he ever decided to get off his throne and do something about it. But he finds that throne very comfortable.
There's no throne in here, but okay. Are you happy about our arrival?
So, are you glad we're here?
I'm thrilled you're here.
I have to say, I'm surprised.
Oh, yeah. Sorry for all that cloak and dagger stuff earlier. Khan Stanild had me on strict orders not to make contact with your Weaver band. But it was the right call. From what I just saw, your presence here is having an impact.
How so?
Notice how the Axle took my side against the Eye earlier. That never happens. And the Spindle is as quiet as a mouse most of the time, but not today.
Aha. So these are big changes.
It might not sound like much, but they're excited you're here. Stanild can tell too. That's why he backed down so easily. And that's why I'm glad you're here.
Alright, sounds good. You don't care that we released the Surgeborn?
So you're not upset that I breached Asylum, like your colleagues?
I've been pushing to do something about the Surgeborn for years now. Setting them free wasn't great, but sealing them in the underworks indefinitely was never a good solution. Frankly, I think Khan Stanild is just annoyed you undid his one claim to fame. I guarantee he has no plans to do anything about the Surgeborn now that they're free.
You don't think he sees them as a threat?
He's got his head in the sand about a lot of things.
Okay, well, what do you want to know about me? That's a weird thing. What if he wants to know nothing about me?
You seem awfully trusting of us, considering the terrible first impression we've made.
I was spying on you the first time we met, so let's call it even.
Sure. Maybe you know everything already then, but have you got any questions for me?
Just one. Why are you here?
I mean, our goal wasn't to rip down the veil. I don't really care about leaving. I am here to help.
Growing up, I saw the Enclave as a symbol of what Weavers lost after the Surge. After all, we have no home to return to, and we're pariahs in most nations. But the longer I'm in here, the more I realize how much your people have lost too, and still stand to lose. I'm here to help, however I can.
That is exactly what I was hoping you'd say. If that's truly what you want, then dealing with the Surgeborn is the first step. Ever since the Veil went up, our people have been in crisis. They've spent so long in it, they're afraid to do what it takes to get out. It doesn't help that some have benefited off that same crisis.
Who?
Who always benefits? The very top. Our leaders are too preoccupied with their own concerns to form a unified front against the Surgeborn.
Such as?
The Spindle is obsessed with getting the Arcs functional again. She believes that will help us regain control. And the Axle is too stressed about our supply shortage right now. But, if their concerns were handled, they could pressure the Eye to finally address the Surgeborn.
That sounds like an opportunity. And are you a representative yourself? Do you have sway?
Representative, yes. Sway? No. I represent the Scouts, meaning I'm at the meetings, but I don't have the title to back me up. The Scouts were once points like you, but our role has changed since the Veil went up. We were effectively drafted into scavenging for food and supplies. It made sense following the Surge, but it's been years. Recently, we've even been separated from Cassidon's hold and the remaining civilians. Anyway, It's the guild leaders who will need to pressure Khan Stanild into dealing with the Surgeborn. That's where my people need your help the most. Then we can start fixing the deeper issues we face.
Sounds like I've got some palms to grease.
Yuck. But yes, I'll come by your camp later. We'll be able to speak more freely there.
What is that about?
The Eye isn't one for idle chit-chat. That's worth watching.
Talk to you back at our camp.
You got it.
Sev, you all right?
No. I mean, yes. I'm fine.
You sure?
Bryn, the rest of us are heading out. See you back at camp.
I got to go.
That finishes a tepid welcome. I'm guessing the Eye is going to convince Sev to betray us, because Sev just wants to leave. I also kind of feel like Sev has a bigger role to play in all this. But, based on that, it really feels like Sev's gonna be convinced to stab us in the back.
Need I remind you that your access to Cassidon's hold is restricted?
Oh. I didn't mean to intrude.
You would do well to mind yourself, newcomer, or risk losing the privilege of coming to Cassidon's hold entirely.
You know, gutting him would really make things easier for me. The Eye's office. What an office.
So, you,
Me?
the one causing trouble, the one poking into corners, the one who hasn't the good sense to leave well enough alone.
Had you allowed Arakim to reach out to us sooner, this could have been avoided.
Arakim has a proven record of poor judgment on matters of protocol. I will not be lectured by the person who put us all at risk on how best to handle our security. But I suppose you did apologize for your unfortunate mistake. Let us start afresh, shall we? Please, share what you hope to accomplish by loitering around the hold.
Oh, I get one thing. I mean, I want to help. I also want to stop them, and I want to preserve. I can only pick one, so my number one thing is helping the people.
Before we met, it was clear from my exploration of Denevron that you have sourcing issues. Your lack of production capacity was obvious. We can help with your shortages.
A caravan of 7 is going to supply a fortress of thousands. What's next? You'll turn water into Sansa mead? Though you are correct. Sourcing has been a consistent problem since even before we abandoned the capital. We have hundreds of trained scouts, but wooden swords and paper shields are hardly going to mount an offensive. So despite certain assertions that we must do something, we lack the tools with which to make any great strides.
Like it or not, I'm here to help.
The Enclave stands on a blade's edge. Stretch our resources too thin on risky ventures and we face collapse. Certain elements of our population call for action, for bold purpose. And I ask you, what purpose is bolder than survival?
Well,
Purely rhetorical. We must survive, and we must make considered, careful moves if we are to do so. There is no sacrifice too great towards that goal. You, at least, understand the precarity of our situation. Now understand the necessity of our caution.
I do, but...
Thank you for your time. You may go.
but...
You may go.
Oh, I hope I get to kill this guy. If not, he's going on my list of characters I wish I got to kill in video games. But they didn't let me. Let's run back to camp and talk to people real quick. And then we'll start helping them. Everybody's got stuff for me, huh? Oh no, that ties into a mission. What? Why does everyone have a thing over their heads? Oh, everyone has a mission. Okay, well, let's talk first.
So, Warrior, what do you make of the Enclave Council?
Their living history. What they've seen, what knowledge they must have preserved. All this time, they've been here, holding down the fort. It's great you've offered to help the Axle and the Spindle. Just be careful you're not going over the Eye's head.
I'd like to kick him in his head. Either one's fine. He does not seem trustworthy. Tell her I'll be careful, or I'm not gonna step on his toes. But someone should help.
Someone needs to help his people, and frankly, it doesn't seem like it's going to be him.
Try to have some understanding of all he's been through. He's led the Enclave during a crisis. The rules change. He knows more about the Surge, the Enclave, and arguably even magic. Because while we've been outcasts, he's been here, at the heart of our culture. It's something we need to respect.
I'll try.
Good.
Spec my foot up his ass. Arva!
The Hearthsiders look more traumatized than a beast of burden after a hurricane.
What? Why would you say that?
I would think someone who grew up in the wake of war would recognize the signs. Disorganized and unable to triage their own problems. They're overwhelmed. Suspicious of us despite our clear good intentions, suggesting paranoia. And while their leader is in deep denial of the very real crisis the Enclave is in, the others accept it. They've been stewing in turmoil for so long, it's become their new normal. And it's probably more comfortable for them than the prospect of change.
You're right. They do remind me of some veterans back in Carnhaven.
Saw it 1,000 times over while working in Udea. Ori, I may not want to hear it, but these people are completely lost in their crisis.
I spoke to Aurea earlier. She certainly does want to give the Eye the benefit of the doubt. I'm not so sure it's warranted.
Aurea has a case of hero worship when it comes to the Enclave. She can be blinded by it sometimes.
Huh.
It's not to say great things didn't happen here. But at the end of the day, the Hearthsiders aren't gods. They're fallible. Just like us.
Sounds good. Alright. We have 4 more? Oh, you don't even have a... Oh, it's like, who's that guy? Oh, I know who that guy is. Lane has a codex? Oh, for the Eyes University, which I'm not reading, and then Cassidy's Hold, which I'm not going to read. I mean, not on camera.
Bryn, I have to say, I'm a little concerned about you.
Me? Why's that?
I don't think you know what you're getting yourself into with the Enclave Council. You're not just helping them, you're diving headfirst into their political affairs.
Lane, if I can fight an Archon 10 times my size, I can handle a little bureaucracy.
That's exactly my point. I was raised in the midst of political schemes and intrigue. There's always something unsaid or underhanded at play beneath the surface. Just be careful. That's all.
Oh, more talk.
One of the greatest tragedies of the Surge is the loss of stories. The Enclave might not be that old, but with so many dead to the Surgeborn, their memories most certainly died with them. I can understand that. Oh? My parents' generation tend to stay quiet around the fire. Whatever stories Khanhanders had were beaten out of us by public lashings and prison camps. And we haven't had time since independence to start telling new ones.
Ah, yes. Bryn of Carnhaven. I almost forgot.
Wait, like what Dom called me? You were listening? I always am. Habit-born of a Udean upbringing, I suppose. But, yes. I suppose the similarities are there, aren't they? A population whittled down by catastrophe. Stories lost. Did you ever have the urge to press a little harder? To try and learn just one or two stories? Even if it was painful for the person telling them?
This is what Lane would want to hear, so we'll say this.
I would have liked to. It was hard, though. I learned more about our folklore through silence than through words. I was born after the fighting ended, but we still hadn't fully rebuilt by the time I left home. I found a couple of skeletons, as a kid, out on the steppe. People who'd died fighting the war, exposed by the wind and the rain. There's a story behind those bones that will never be told.
I can only imagine how hard it must be to adapt to the new normal of no longer being under an empire's yoke. Even more so when you fought so hard to gain that independence. If we ever travel back to Carnhaven, I'll try and record some stories, with your help, if you'd like. Sorry, is that too presumptuous of me?
No, of course not. You never know where the Weaver life might take us.
It's a date, then.
What? No, I want to date the other one, Casman. Okay, you still have talk for me, Lane.
I took a break from work earlier to watch you on the scry. The way you take down those giant beasts, it's breathtaking. Poetry in motion, even. If you weren't already journaling your exploits, I'd be dedicating page upon page to them.
I don't get to see myself from the outside very often.
Alas, if only I were an accomplished artist.
Too bad. I want to see what I look like when I'm exploring places that haven't been seen for decades.
Even without pictorial aids, you look brave, confident, powerful, ready for anything.
You had those adjectives ready to roll. Been watching me a lot.
Yes, it's what naturally came to mind, promise. Words are more my specialty, as I said.
The Lane romance thing kind of just came out of nowhere. At least with Casman, I've talked and flirted, I believe. I don't believe I've ever flirted with Lane. Is it that all of my... No, I don't think I'm going to be able to romance. If there is romance, because it seems like he's flirting with me. I have no interest in him. Now Lane's flirting with me, which Lane is one of my favorite of my crew. And then Casman's the one that I was intentionally trying to flirt with. Okay.
It might sound callous, but I'm a little disappointed in the Hearthsiders.
They're in worse shape than any of us expected.
They've done so little to repair the wonders that surround them. How can a society once renowned for its genius become so far removed from their own innovations? It makes me question if they were ever as great as we all believe they were, or if it was just...
Some myth to keep Weavers going after the Surge.
Exactly. Something for us to believe in, whether or not it was true.
No, I would say either of these two. This doesn't mean that the promise of the Enclave isn't real. Yeah, I would say this, because obviously war happened, so they had to stop focusing on brains and start focusing on survival. So, there's that.
The Hearthsiders are in shambles. But who wouldn't be after what they've been through? I still believe in the dream of the Enclave. If it takes us to restore it, I'm up for that challenge.
You're right. If it really was that at one time, it can become that again. I'm just not sure what to think anymore.
You're good, buddy. Sev?
So, what were you speaking to the Eye about?
Nothing. I just... I don't want to talk about it.
I didn't mean to pry. I just wanted to make sure you're okay.
You want to know if I'm okay?
Yes?
Then how come no one is at all concerned with the fact we can't leave? This isn't my life. Traveling with the Weaver Band was supposed to be temporary. For me, at least. There are things I should get back to in Taza. And it's increasingly clear no one has any idea when I will. If ever. So no, I'm not okay.
I'm so sorry. I had no idea you were feeling this way. You're right.
I am?
The truth is, we don't know how or when we're getting out of here. But if you want to leave, we should have made that more of a priority. Or at least made you feel more heard. So we'll work on it. Promise.
Really? What's the catch?
No catch. Apprentice or full-time weaver, what's important to you is important to all of us.
I don't know what to say. But thanks.
He probably has family, and this was just a job. And there are starving to death right now while we have him trapped here.
That wasn't exactly the warmest welcome. I'm guessing the Enclave Council isn't your biggest fan right now.
So either I say they view us as a problem and share my concerns, or tell her that I can win them over. I forgot. Does she like the confidence, or she not like the confidence? I think she likes the confidence.
Not a great first impression, but I can bring them around.
Even the eye. He seemed pretty peeved.
Hey, if I can help his people, he won't have any reason to hate me.
Whatever the Council thinks of you, I'm glad you're trying to help them. I think they could really use it.
Yeah, they don't seem to be in great shape.
Nothing our daring point can't fix.
Alright, and now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 missions I have to do. Ruined fountain. It belongs to him?
Making yourself at home?
Yes. I've always wanted my own ruined fountain. I don't want to presume, but being here is a nice break from all the politics.
And the eye is okay with that?
I convinced him I would be keeping an eye on you. Frankly, I think he's just glad to be rid of me. I ask the kind of questions that make him uncomfortable. You know, tough ones like, how? And why exactly?
Lucky for you, Aria loves when people ask those questions. Welcome to the camp, Eric. We're glad to have you, and your insight on the Hearthsiders.
You still call us that?
Yeah, but it's more bitter these days. Surge and all. Maybe together we can fix that.
Let's.
Why did he have to have a moaning face? Okay. So yeah, I have 7 missions to get started on. Okay.